All right, joining me now to discuss this further is Mr. Jitu Ogunye, who is a lawyer. Mr. Ogunye, thank you very much for joining us on the program. First, let me get your take. Are you surprised that the NJC actually decided to recall these judges?
I was surprised. In spite of the possibility of NJC, be an institution of the Nigerian state, being susceptible to lobby, and I'm saying this advisedly, even in the appointment of senior advocate of Nigeria, you still have people being lobbied and all that. So in spite of the NJC being susceptible to the possibility of lobby, I still was surprised that the NJC could prematurely, in my view, recall those judges when issues surrounding their suspension, the allegation against them, when all these issues are yet to be fully and finally resolved. So I was surprised.
Why would it be difficult, for instance, for the federal government to arraign these judges? I mean, these people have been actually on suspension for about 8 months now. So why would it be difficult? Would it be safe to say that the government, especially the Office of the Attorney General, is responsible for all of this?
No, a number of things could be said to be responsible for all this. Of course, I am not satisfied with the way the federal government of Nigeria, particularly the executive branch, has handled the issue of the fight against corruption as it relates to the arraignment of judicial officers. Look, if you're going to arraign judicial officers in this jurisdiction, you had better be ready. You had better be ready. Because it's a difficult process. Those who are going to prosecute are lawyers, many of whom possibly had appeared before these judges before. Those who are going to defend them are also lawyers. Those who are going to adjudge the case or those cases are judges. They are lawyers before they became judges. So you're talking about a fraternity here. I'm not saying that it's not possible for people in that fraternity to be held to account or to be brought to justice. But I'm just telling Nigerians the practical difficulties that the quest to try judges in this jurisdiction could bring about. And so for me, the executive branch of government, I'm talking about the Office of the Attorney General, the investigators and all that, whether the Directorate of State Security Service or the Nigerian Police or the FCC, they ought to have put their acts together, and they ought to have moved expeditiously to ensure that once allegations are made, we have prompt investigation, and then there will be prompt and efficient prosecution, so that at the end of the day, people will get a sense that justice has been served. Now, I've listened to those who argue that the length of time when they be on suspension is inordinate, and that therefore that trumps the need to continue to keep them outside the judiciary any longer. I disagree completely, because we're all in this jurisdiction. When the NJC, this same NJC, although under the supervision of other jurists then, got involved in the Salami's saga, Justice Salami, got him suspended unlawfully and illegally and immorally. He was the number 2 highest ranking judicial officer in the country. He was suspended. Later, the same NJC passed a resolution that he should be recalled. President Goodluck Jonathan said that the case was in court, so he would not recall him. And so his judicial tenure was looted in a way. It was wasted, and he was in suspension. He was on that suspension till retirement caught up with him. So the heavens didn't collapse. And we're not even talking about a man who had allegations against him in the manner of the allegations we have against these current sets of judges who are on trial, and some of them who have allegations against them. So the NJC on that occasion didn't demonstrate this agility and, if you will, desperation to have these judges recalled the way they have demonstrated it now. Of course, the NBA too prepared the ground for the intervention of the NJC in a rather choreographed manner, which smacks of some kind of conspiracy somewhat. And therefore, it is understandable if the executive branch of government is now saying that they disagree with the judiciary. Now, the point I'm making is that I am not satisfied with the way the executive branch has handled the issue of the prosecution. But that does not mean that all the issues have been resolved, thereby, making the NJC to now say that, oh, since all the issues have been resolved, we are now on a good footing or standing to have these judges recalled. Because, justice, as we all know, must be rooted in confidence. And confidence is destroyed when the ordinary man on the street, yes, the proverbial ordinary man, that common man, goes away with the impression that justice is not being served because of esprit de corps, because of fraternity amongst the stakeholders.
Okay, but let me quickly ask you now, specifically on the case of Justice Ademola, who, the NJC argued has been discharged and acquitted, even though the government has actually appealed that decision of the court now. What should have happened in your own opinion? Because some lawyers have argued that, well, an appeal in this case should not amount to any form of stay at all.
No, I go back to what I said earlier. The matter is still a live matter. There is an appeal, and I can't play the role of a court of appeal over the High Court decision. But those who have dissected the decision, all lawyers who agree that there are problems with that decision. I can tell you now for free that when I read that judgment in the papers, I just chuckled with amazement. A no-case submission taking about 4 hours of delivery, and the judex in that instance was reviewing evidence comprehensively when the apex court and judicial authorities have stated repeatedly that because a no-case submission is an objection, the ruling on it ought to be brief as possible, and that the judex is not expected to then dwell on the facts and then be reviewing the evidence. In that judgment or ruling, the judge was talking about what he believed and what he didn't believe, how one evidence was worthless, and that's not what should be done in the no-case submission. And so the federal government says that it wants to appeal, and it has the right to appeal. What I'm saying is that in the face of that appeal, and even in the face of reports that other matters might be filed before the Code of Conduct Tribunal, etc., etc., I'm saying that there is no urgent and compelling reason for the NJC to embark on this course of action. Why? The fact that these judges are no longer sitting at the Supreme Court or in a court where ordinarily they've been sitting does not mean that those courts suddenly have now become so full in their dockets that the costs are now collapsing because the personnel or judicial officers that are required to sit can no longer sit. So in other words, the point is that from the point of view of adjudication of cases, from the point of view of morality, from the point of view of even the due exercise of the disciplinary powers of the NJC as defined in the Constitution and the Part 1 of the third schedule to the Constitution, I reference paragraph 21. I'm saying that they ought not to have embarked on this course of action. We not, look, let me just say this. No matter how long they are on suspension, even from the point of view of personal welfare and emolument, unless they are removed from the bench, because they have security of tenure under section 292 of the Constitution, they will receive the backlog of their salaries, receive everything, if ultimately and eventually they are vindicated. That's the point I'm making. I'm telling you that our courts have adjudicated on cases lasting for years concerning ordinary Nigerians. I reference the case of Festus Iyayi and University of Benin here, and Professor Ishesage. Professor Ishesage was removed from the University of Benin as a professor and dean of the Faculty of Law by the administration of Grace Alele Williams and administration of Babangida. And he was in court for 9 years, up to the Supreme Court, before the Supreme Court vindicated them, and they then went back to that university to receive the backlog of their salary, because the court found that they were not lawfully removed from the university. So the point I'm making is that because the judges have security of tenure, even if it takes 3 or 4 years for their matter to be eventually resolved, because of the delicate nature of the case, and because of the health of the judiciary, because of the implication of a premature and, spontaneous and not well thought out recall, because of the implication of that for the overall integrity of the judiciary, nobody is saying that they are guilty yet. So the NJC should be keen, supremely keen, in ensuring that all matters pertaining to them are resolved completely and finally before recalling them. That's the point I'm making.
Final question before you go. The government has come out to say that it's going to arraign these judges very soon. I mean, those that have not been arraigned now, that it's going to arraign them very soon. And what we're gathering is that probably sometime next week, these judges will be arraigned. Now that the NJC has recalled them, when the government eventually arraigns them, say maybe next week or the week after, will the NJC go on to suspend them for a second time again?
Well, that question should go to the NJC. They will know what to do at that time. And when that eventually comes, if it will come, that will only go to show that the NJC should have been more circumspect before hastily recalling them. But let it not be seen that it was the recall that is now making the government to wake up from its slumber, and is making the government to be fretting and saying that it wants to rearrange them, which may smack of bad faith. The point I'm making is that the executive branch of government needs to put its act together. Government is a very powerful machinery. They have all the resources, they exact taxes, they collect the revenue, they spend the money, they can hire the best lawyers in town, prosecutors and all that. So if you want to fight corruption in the judiciary, is the toughest of tasks. It's tough. And so even if you are going to spend millions of naira, possibly billions, to ensure that one judge is successfully prosecuted, if it is warranted, and there is a reason for that, spend that money. Because in spending that money, you will not only be prosecuting that one judge, you'll be teaching a lesson, so that in that community, other persons that may want to go the way of that judge will not want to go the way of that judge. So you will have achieved a lot by successfully prosecuting that one judge. So when you then see government deterring, when you see government being lethargic, when you see government setting up a national prosecution committee and not funding it, And when you see government not putting its acts together, you then wonder whether there is seriousness or purpose. So I don't want the presidency or the executive branch of government to be crying wolf. They brought this upon us in a way. If you really want to fight corruption, put everything, your resource, your energy, your money, your principle, where your mouth is. It is not just sufficient for you to have an elaborate process, and then days will become weeks, weeks will become months, and then you say, oh, you ought not to have recalled them. So if you are saying that they ought not to have been recalled, the critical question that remains is that, have you been doing what you ought to have been doing to ensure that things are done more speedily? So I am not, just blaming the NJC alone for this sorry pass. I'm also blaming the executive branch of government, even as I maintain that the NJC ought not to have embarked on this hasty recall. The executive, rightly in my view, ought to receive a great measure of flack and excoriation, if you ask me.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jitu Ogunye, for joining us on the program, and thank you very much for sharing your thoughts with us on this very, very disturbing issue. All right, that's it on the program. If you want to watch it again, it's simple. All you just need to do is go to our website. It's tv360nigeria.com. You'll find this program and lots more there. You can also check us out on YouTube. The address is youtube.com/TV360Nigeria. Do subscribe now to get the latest videos and updates on what is happening around the country. You can as well join us on Google+. It's at TV360Nigeria. Or like us on Facebook. The address is facebook.com/TV360online. You can also follow us on Twitter. Our handle is at TV360online. We thank you very much for watching. Let's just continue to pray for the judiciary of this country. And let's continue to work hard to ensure that the judiciary is sanitized and that we get the kind of judiciary we all desire. We'll see you again next week.